Hey everybody. So I highly apologize because the last video that I uploaded it had tons of very cool information, very insightful facts, and for some odd reason there was a buzzing noise that may have interrupted the audio, and it stinks. I have to kind of sort of recap the last video. I'll do that right after this. Let's make this the part two, where I wanted to read to you guys about another wife of Abraham, which was Keturah. Keturah. Um, so Keturah, what's fascinating when you do the Google Schmoogle search, it says the wives and sons of Abraham, which is kind of weird why they would put that. The wives and sons, with Keturah standing at the far right with her 6 sons. Um, that is so. There's so many different interpretations here. You have wives and sons instead of daughters and sons. So there obviously was a civilization that was created between Keturah and Abraham. In my last video, I kind of put that the Khazars were of the descendants of King Caesar, which I think this was the descendants of what's it called? It's fascinating because my family, I don't want to say too much, but the first line here, that's where my family comes from. And so the being that they're relatives, I'm like, hey, which is why I'm able to feel appropriate to deliver this information. Let's see, sources of Keturah. Keturah is mentioned in 2 passages of the Hebrew Bible in the book of Genesis. But why would she be in Genesis when Abraham wasn't mentioned in the first book, was he? Um, let's see. Keturah is referred to in Genesis as another wife of Abraham. The first Chronicles, she is called Abraham's concubine. But what's interesting was there's a connection to her in Hagar, but then there's no actual proof. But Hagar is known in Islam as Hahar. So there's a connection. That's where I made the distinct connection between those who practice, or have the culture of Islam, or those who are Persian, those who live in the Middle East. Here is the connection between the two, because the thing about it is society has made a segregation between the two, but they're both the same. Two different moms, same dad. So it's the same blood. Um, Keturah bore Abraham 6 sons, which you probably don't hear about this too often. And when you see Enoch's name, you think of Enoch was great grandfather of Noah. So this was way before. And it's interesting because when you see that the Arab tribes, the south of the Palestine, it's probably because Sarah, who was the master of Hagar, had banished them from the land. It's almost like when Sarah said, "Hey, now I have children. Now I'm the true wife of Abraham. I banish you away from this land." So therefore, you have a divide between the Palestinians and the children of Israel, which to me are the two witnesses. They both need to witness each other's side and come to terms with each other's truth, because each truth of each opposition is the same. I'm just one small wise guy with a big channel. And so there's different ways to say Allah. There's Allah, 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 Aliyah, Alay, and then there's Alalu, which many people say. So it's funny because people who knew how to distort the truth knew how to get people to recite the truth in places they don't know that they're being deceived. So that's where I drew my conclusion with everything. Um, let's make this here. It says purpose. If indeed the great Satan made his boast to be Allah in Isaiah 14:13, and if indeed he has impregnated over 1 billion people upon the earth to shout his name, then Lucifer has indeed become a mighty God for 1 billion people upon the earth. So this is saying that there was another wife who, if Keturah had, let's say if she wasn't, let's hop over here. Let's say if she wasn't Abraham's wife. This is just all theory now because I'm having an epiphany. I was actually talking to my friend today, and it was funny how he was saying, like, those are just connections, but, those aren't truths. And I'm like, but the point is to make connections, you bozo. All right. So let's say, okay, Satan, Lucifer is another way of saying Enlil. I'm sorry. Oh, pencil, come on. Inky and Enlil. Because you have one above, the illuminated one, the one that's winged, the winged angel, Uriel. You have Satan, who's the serpent, the devil, and Enlil. Same thing, same guy. If he were to, let's just say, he were to lie to this poor innocent Keturah, as I'm Abraham, the first, father of the true God, and she bore 6 sons, there's your point right there. 6 is the beast number. And so you've had these 6 sons who had plagued the earth with billions, as it said, billions and billions. You have this bloodline. I don't want to name Rockefellers, you have the Rothschilds, you have the Bushes, you have the royal family, you have the Freuds. What's the other one? The Hamburgers. I forget the names. So those are the ones of these families. Same as like when you guys see the music artists, and the music artists have last names like Alessia Cara or Azalea Banks. Those last names have ties to those families and bloodlines from the descendants of those roots of the past, those ancient past. People think that even like, I hate to say his name, but people say Donald Trump and but they don't understand that when you are a bloodline and of the last, the if it were your birthright, you were born at an eclipse at the time, day, and staple in a nation that had to have a birthright leader within 70 days, 7 weeks, 7 hours to 7 minutes of being inaugurated. That was his birthright. Same as Abraham. If Abraham were created at, I don't know, the 10,000 of 10, 10, and 10, and 10, and 10, it was his right to be the main bloodline of the 12 tribes of Israel. I'm only speaking out of my head because this is how I'm receiving the information. So in my mind, there's the two witnesses, right? You have the state of Islam, you have Palestine and Israel. Who's right and who's wrong? To be quite honest with you, I have a falsified version of what everyone's following. Because even if you have, for instance, the Star of David, inside you have a pentagram, which is also the box of Saturn, the cube on Saturn, sorry. And everybody who is, let's say, Nike, same thing. In-N-Out Burger, same thing. Subway, same thing. You have all these tail ends of whatnot, whatnot. Even when Madame Clinton was running, what was her emblem? It was the arrow. Oh, I goofed that one up really bad. And people are like, "Oh, I'm voting for her. I'm with her," and it's like, well, but I goofed that one. You saw that in the middle of Hillary's logo was the arrow, which says that in the form of not Judaism, but Kabbalah, which hijacked. And then even here you have Allah in Kabbalah. So you're taking the truth and you're distorting it amongst the people. So you have one side taking the truth and creating falsified and making it look like these are the wrong people worshiping the wrong God and blah, blah, and blah. That's how the distortion and delusion was created. So Sarah, we have Hebrew, Jewish, Christian. I was explaining how Allah in Hebrew means to ascend. It means the same. It means to ascend according to those who are Persian or speak Farsi or in the Middle East. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have your backs, you guys. But also in Persian language or according to how this word is to the opposition, it means to curse. And I was saying how to when you curse something and when you ascend it, you either condemn it or you resurrect it. As above, so below. It's Elohim. It's an Inky and Lil. Inky is of the land and Lil is of the sky. I have Joseph and Mary. This is a different Joseph. This was of the colored robe Joseph, who married Asenath. Asenath gave birth to a Nazarene, which then breaks down to Mary. But then there had to be a bloodline from someone not of this world at that time who was able to reset everything. That was Jesus. That's why he had to come here, because the two sides were going the wrong direction. And this was a mix-up because you have people who, and I know there's different, when people see this, they think of, I'm blanking out. But you see when, what is that? I forget, it starts with an M. The people who go around and around and around that black cube. See, that's what we think is the practice of Islam, but it's not. That is of the opposition. So you have people crossing over back and forth and posing as one side, but they're the other. Focus, camera. It's funny because that's why I came to the conclusion that Keturah is a bloodline, or the mother of the birth of the Khazars, because they imposed as both sides to deceive both sides. So I think I covered everything well over there, you think? So if I were to go to the Khazars, let's look up what they are. So I really would like people to know. Oops, I should have put the Khazars. Hello. Don't you love it when devices don't listen to you? All right, the Khazars, not Caesars. The 12 Khazars. So there were 12 tribes of Khazars. Basically, They came out of, well, wherever you know as the Vatican is where they are now, or what they were. They were the ones who were a certain skin color, certain eye color, certain hair color, who then called themselves the true Jews. And they took over Israel. They kicked out the original. And it led to what you saw, the Holocaust. That was the whole stage of the plan. Then you saw them giving back the land to the true natives of that land. There's the confusion part too. So I don't know if this was the right um, description. I'm looking for the Khazars, but manuscript of Davita Khazarium. This was in the 1300s. If you guys want to look that up on your own, go for it. There was Caesar and his bloodline and his 12 tribes, and they called them pirates. They're the ones who invaded Israel. They're the ones who were behind creating the soldiers that basically created the Holocaust. Oh, let's see if my spelling was off. K SARS, the K SARS. Oh, but you guys get what I'm saying. Let's see. Who were the Khazars? Boom, there you go. They spelled it wrong, but it's supposed to be Caesars. All right, so if we were to go through this, and see, that's the thing about our world and our, nothing is, they're not going to tell you the truth, they're going to distort it. So you saw how I spelled it, and it brought me to a whole different explanation. So the Khazars were a semi-nomadic Turkish people, who created what, for its duration, was the most powerful polity to emerge from the breakup of the Western Turkish, known as the Khazar Khanate or the Khazaria. See, when you see the tribe of Israel are Ashkenazic, you can think that they follow the wisdom of Melchizedek, or they were under the follow of Asenath, who was the wife of Joseph, of the colored robe Joseph, not the Joseph Mary. Let's do the myths, anti-Semitic. These like are some funny descriptions. Come on, Wikipedia. This is pretty fun, isn't it? So they point the Khazars to the Persians, and that's why so many people keep calling them terrorists and this, and that, and they're not. It's what is diluted into the world to make people think that, you know. But we have to really look at the truth. And the truth was between Abraham, if he didn't sleep with two different, or possibly three different people. So all these Khazars, and that's why I wanted to point this out. See that there's a KH. If we go back to Keturah, Keturah could have possibly been a third wife of Abraham, thus her creating a super soldier bloodline that wasn't of Hagar or Sarah. So you have three different families trying to fight over who's right, whose rightful territory is it, and whose God is legit and who's not. And we also know what happened to Caesar because Brutus betrayed him. Why did Brutus betray him? Because Brutus knew the truth. Um, so I wanted to just share that with everyone. This was a huge download that I got, all from a bracelet that I found the other day. So this will conclude my part 2. Yeah, check all this out, you guys. Just hit Google, Khazar. It should be spelled Caesar. That's how it was spelled. Well, in one reality that I lived in, that's what it was spelled. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy this part 2. Talk to you later.